Hey, what's up? This is Apex Legends here. It's fair to say that, at its most basic, fashion is about looking good and to an extent being appropriate for who you are or the situation you're in. It's the reason why a hedge fund manager might rock up somewhere wearing a really nice, finely tailored suit, or a mountaineer might wear a really cool Arc'teryx Gore-Tex jacket to look nice whilst protecting himself from the wind and the rain. But what does it mean to go beyond that and to self-identify as a fashion enthusiast or someone where fashion is their hobby? And is it a bad thing to consciously choose fashion itself as your main hobby? This is a question and an idea that's been on my mind a little bit recently, so it's something that I wanted to talk about in a little more detail. It's fair to say that personally, I'm quite invested now in the world of fashion, but what do we use fashion for? What's the point? Well, to go back to our example, your hedge fund manager, he's wearing his nice suit to make him look professional to his clients, like he can do a good job. Maybe he also wears it so that he helps feel confident about his own ability. Our mountaineer, of course, wearing a nice Arc'teryx jacket, both because it looks pretty good, got a nice flattering modern cut, etc., but also because it has that performance aspect too that's going to help him when he's out there going for a nice weekend trek. These two people could in fact just be one person using different kinds of clothing in different scenarios, but the point is that this person or these people are using fashion in conjunction with or to help benefit an aspect of their life, to elevate part of who they are. And it's cool to be enthusiastic about that kind of thing, and when I talk about fashion on this channel, it is often in the context of how it can perform and how it meshes with the individual wearer, what kinds of functionality and benefits clothing can actually offer to someone as they go about their daily life. But of course we can't pretend that clothing is just about utility. We are several thousand years beyond that now. Clothing is a collector's item, clothing is a social signifier, clothing can be art even, and that makes a lot more reasons to buy into fashion. And here there's a fine line between elevating part of someone's lifestyle or their character and almost serving as a bit of a replacement to that. It's the line between our mountaineer, for example, wearing that cool Gore-Tex jacket that makes him feel like a badass whilst protecting him from the wind and rain, versus someone that buys a luxury, heavily insulated jacket knowing full well that it's actually going to be too warm for them 90% of the time. It's the line between enthusiastically discussing Rick Owens clothing and roasting anyone that wears Dark Shadow instead of mainline Rick Owens. And it's the line between knowing about a brand's history and inspirations and getting personally offended when somebody online criticizes that brand as if that brand was part of who we are. It's over that line that I think the hobby of fashion kind of turns into a hobby of consumption. You're essentially buying the right product so you can be perceived in the right way. And by that point, how much value are we really getting out of this stuff that we're purchasing? Are we using these things to their intended or to their full potential? Are we extracting that maximum value? I see this difference as the same as someone that's into PC gaming, for example, so they know loads about hardware, versus someone that is specifically into mechanical keyboards, and their main interest is just buying rare mechanical keyboards or getting a better keyboard, just for the sake of having one. Now, don't think that me saying all this is my enlightened galactic brain preaching to everyone about, ooh, capitalism is really bad, ooh, don't buy things, etc. And I certainly could pretend that I'm exempt from all this, because after all, my hobby is making YouTube videos and reviews and cool Instagram pictures, right? So that's how I justify all of this stuff. And yet, nonetheless, here I am standing in front of more performance outerwear pieces than I really need, more shoes than I ever need to wear, talking in videos about brands that are perceived to be cool in the techwear community, and of course doing it all not from the top of a mountain, but the comfort of my own room. I don't think it's inherently wrong to do that, to want to collect things, to want to talk enthusiastically and have discussions about different kinds of fashion or whatever. I also don't think it's inherently wrong to want to buy premium or luxury products. I definitely 100% think there's value in having nice clothes. I just think it's important to be self-aware about the reasons why we're consuming these things. How far is fashion the means to who we are, the means to who we express ourselves, and how far is it just the end of who we are? And if too far we find ourselves idolizing those products with the manufacturer's label proudly stamped on there, then perhaps that's the point where we need to reevaluate why we need or why we feel like we need this stuff. Essentially, I do feel like fashion has the potential to be a bad hobby if we veer too far towards the label or towards the social signifier and too far away from the actual value and the actual place that they could or should have in our lives, or how much we like the design or the aesthetic of the clothes themselves. or when we get to the point where we identify a little bit too much with our favourite brands, to the point where it turns to us v them mentality of who is or who isn't wearing the right things. That was kind of the crux of what I was thinking about here, as a bit of an introduction to this idea or this topic, because I certainly don't want to come across as me preaching like, this is the way that people should think about fashion, or I think this element of fashion is bad, or whatever. This is more a starting point for discussion, I feel, because this is just something that I was thinking about. If you are interested in this topic, you do want to look into it a bit further. There's two pieces of recommended reading that I would go for. First is from Gracia's blog, who is the designer owner behind Rose and X, which I definitely recommend taking a look at. The other is from a Business of Fashion article from last year about the idea of premium mediocre, of about luxury brands putting out mediocre products so that anyone can engage with this idea of luxury fashion, but the whole thing being a little bit of a charade. Of course, I will put links to those articles down there in the description if you want to check them out. But as this was a discussion-based video, that means that I want to hear your spicy take on what you feel about this topic. Do you think fashion has the potential to be a bad thing? Do you think people's enthusiasm for fashion can go a little bit too far? Or what about all those potential good things about fashion, things that I didn't really mention in this video? You've got, you know, the self-confidence aspect of dressing better, of taking care into your appearance, which personally I feel is kind of important. There's the social aspect. Thanks to the magic of the internet, it's super easy to find like-minded people and also talk about cool clothing together. And there's the creative aspect too, especially for those guys out there that are making their own clothing and their own accessories and that kind of thing. I definitely think that's a positive potential outlet there. Either way, let me know what you think down there in the comments, and if you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like, it is super appreciated, and of course we will be back next time with another one. Shout out to Vincent. I do try and keep an eye on the various techwear places around the internet, so if you do see me pop up, then you can always ask me anything and I'll do my best to reply. And shout out to Duncan and Tabon, both of whom suggested the North Face as having some other cool hat options that I didn't mention in that video. It seems like they have a massively extensive product catalogue, to be honest, so for loads of accessories, if you don't mind that North Face branding, then it seems like they're pretty decent ones to go for. They tend not to be massively expensive either. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more stuff, there's going to be links going up there, and if you haven't subscribed yet, then definitely consider doing so, because we've got cool videos coming up. Next week, we're doing a cool one about some different DIY techwear brands. That one's going to be super cool. We're checking out like 5 different brands, which all have different specializations and stuff. It's going to be nice. You should check that out.